Good afternoon, good morning. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, and I'm here to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. This is the Asylum Answer Show where you can get answers to your questions about asylum, and you get them from a former asylum officer turned asylum lawyer. So I worked for 11 years for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee matters. And I'm providing insights now from my time on the other side of the desk to give our clients the best possible chance of winning their asylum case. I want to answer your questions about asylum in the United States, so let me know what they are. But first, say hello. Let me know where you guys are watching from. Love to hear what's going on and where our community is located. Tell me what city you're watching from this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. Love to hear where you guys are at. Say hello, hello, hello. Got it started over here. Got the conversation started. Got the chat started over in YouTube. Good morning, says Badru. Says hello from Massachusetts. As always, Badru, it's a pleasure to see you. Thank you for being with us. Over on TikTok, hello, Marcel. Good to see you. Good morning, Bunny Store. Hello. Yep, good to see you. Good to see you. Sreen Bhatta, hello, Bunny Store USA. Good morning, Layla Hamchu. Good morning, Shakir. Good to see you. Thanks for being on. Hello, Brian. Huds here in Seattle, says Huds. Thanks, Huds. Good to see you. Glad you're on. Angosum CS. Good afternoon. Good morning. I'm Brian Manning. I'm a former asylum officer, but now as an asylum lawyer. Well, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. We want to answer your questions today. All right. So say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. We got Jared or Yared says hello, Brian from Maryland. Nice. Glad that you're here. TikTok. Hello. Hello. Good to see you. Oh, thank you. Bunny Store. Very nice. Thank you. We got TIWW. Hello. Who says TIWW says, thank you for helping immigrants. My pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be able to support immigrants in their asylum journey. Fadia is in Peru. Interesting. Peace NEA says hello. Welcome. Good to see all you guys. HYTY or Hi Tai says hi from New York. San Francisco in the house, says Archwell with pride. I love San Francisco. I love it. Great city. New York is awesome. Awesome as well. Look, I'm going to answer your questions. Go ahead and start leaving your questions about asylum in the United States. But before I get to your questions, I want to say a couple words about this topic. The Washington Post reported, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about the article reported about a memorandum that ICE had published and had sent out to its agents on February 18 that basically gave a bunch of instructions about how they're going to try to deport as many people as possible. They wanted to deport over 1 million people. And it kind of filled in a bunch of the rules and guidelines for how they're going to go about doing that. And it gave them specific rules as they do that. And one of the things that it talked about, or at least according to the article from the Washington Post, by the way, I have not seen the underlying ICE memo yet. This is one that hasn't been leaked yet, hasn't been made public yet. So I haven't seen the memo, but according to the article from the Washington Post about the memo, there's a reference in the memo that makes it sound like you will not be arrested and placed in what's called expedited removal proceedings if you have an asylum application pending, okay? Which suggests that having an asylum application pending is a good way to protect yourself against arrest and deportation, especially against what's called expedited renewal, where you can get deported within a matter of days after contact with USCIS. Excuse me, not with USCIS, with ICE or with federal immigration authorities, law enforcement. All right. So look, I've been saying this for a while. I mean, since Trump got back in office, I've been saying, I think that having an asylum application pending is probably the best way to protect yourself against deportation and against arrest. And I said that based on sort of the history of government policy around this question, but also because Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, had said, we're going to respect the asylum process. We're going to let it run its course. And so based on those things, I thought that, yeah, it's probably the case that having an asylum application pending is probably the best way to protect yourself. And this memo just further solidifies that. It's another point in favor of this argument or this idea that, look, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. In this climate, in this environment, there's nothing you can do that you, as someone who does not have U.S. citizenship, there's nothing you could do that makes it such that you're 100% safe from Trump's people. But I do think having an asylum application pending is the best way to protect yourself if you don't have citizenship and you don't have a green card. Okay. So what does that mean? If you're in the United States and you fear being harmed in your country and you have not yet applied for asylum, you should talk immediately with an asylum lawyer about doing this. Okay. You should talk immediately with an asylum lawyer about whether it makes sense for you to apply for asylum. Even if you've been here for more than a year, I would not let that stop you from at least talking with an asylum lawyer, because you might qualify for an exception. There are exceptions to the 1-year filing deadline. There's 2 categories of exceptions, remember. It's hard to qualify for this. It's tricky. It's a complicated area of the law, but people do qualify for one or both exceptions. We have success with this on a routine basis, so it's not impossible. All right. You should talk with an asylum lawyer. If you fear being harmed in your country and you've not yet applied for asylum, you should really talk with an asylum lawyer. All right. Let us, with that, that's what I wanted to tell you guys about today. Having said all that, let's go to the questions. Ingun Win says 5528 says on TikTok, I already have TPS, but I'm not feeling safe because ICE can still deport you. Yeah, I mean, look, good point. I'm sorry that you're in this difficult position. All right. The question that this raises, the question is this: are you safe from deportation if you've got temporary protected status, TPS? I mean, look, for the moment, pretty much for the next 5 minutes, pretty much, while you have TPS, as long as you don't commit a crime, I think it's very, very unlikely that you're going to be arrested or targeted for deportation. That's the good news, right? The bad news is that TPS may end, or it may be taken away. It may be terminated prematurely before its expiration date. We're seeing this happen already with Venezuelans, and there's talk about ending it and taking it away, or at least not renewing it for other groups. Okay. Venezuela, we're talking about 500,000 people or something like that thought they were going to have TPS for a lot longer, but it's not being extended, and a bunch of people are going to lose it this year in 2025. Look, you need to be thinking beyond TPS. Even though you're probably pretty safe now, if you fear being harmed in your country and you've not yet applied for asylum, I strongly encourage you. I urge you to talk with an asylum lawyer right now to see if it makes sense to apply, especially apply before your TPS ends. Because then, if your TPS goes away, yeah, you're really at risk then, big time. Okay. So look, you should talk with an asylum lawyer right away. Okay. You can do that. If you want to talk with one of our asylum professionals, the best way to do this is schedule an asylum strategy session, a consultation with us. And you can do that at winasylum.com. So open up a new browser tab or on your phone or your laptop or whatever, type in winasylum.com, enter. That'll take you to the page where you can do this, winasylum.com. Okay, it's super quick and easy to get set up with the consultation. Once you go to that webpage, it looks like this. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, you're seeing the graphic on my screen. TikTok, you're missing out on the graphic. Come on over to YouTube, where I've got all my best trainings. I got lots of good stuff on YouTube. Full-length, detailed trainings, tutorials about lots of stuff that you need to know for your asylum case. All right. I wanted to address this question on TikTok. Where was that? American Dream Family. What about Ukrainians? I heard it's not a strong case for asylum. Good question. The question is this: can you win your asylum case as someone from Ukraine who's worried about being harmed in the fighting? Look, maybe it depends. It's not as simple and straightforward as just saying, oh, I'm from Ukraine, I fear being harmed because of fighting, therefore I should get asylum. We've got to make a much more thorough argument than that. There is an argument to be made, a serious one, based on the law and the way the law is interpreted, that you could be eligible for asylum even if you've never personally been targeted. It's based on the circumstances as they exist right now in Ukraine, and that could change in a way that harms your asylum case very soon. If you have not applied, if you're from Ukraine, you fear being harmed, and you haven't applied, you should talk to an asylum lawyer about applying right now. If you applied multiple years ago and you haven't gotten your interview yet, I strongly urge you to talk with an asylum lawyer about suing the government in a mandamus lawsuit to get your interview as soon as possible. Because it looks to me, honestly, like circumstances may change in a way that will make it harder and harder, if not impossible, for most Ukrainians to win their asylum case because of what could happen in terms of changes on the ground. You should talk with an asylum lawyer now about suing. Okay. All right. Let's go to YouTube. Who's on YouTube? Gold Rush says, my individual hearing was supposed to be this April, but was pushed back to 2026 April. What might be the reason? Good question. The question is this. Why might your asylum interview or your hearing in immigration court get canceled and then postponed, get basically canceled and then rescheduled for some time in the future, maybe several months in the future, maybe a year or two or more in the future? Why does that happen, and what does it mean? Look, it can happen for pretty much a number of reasons. It almost certainly has nothing to do with you or your case in particular. It's just the judge was sick that day. They had to do maintenance in the building that day and cancel all the interviews or hearings. They had there can be a billion different reasons why a hearing or interview gets canceled and rescheduled. And the fact that that happens, or the fact that maybe it's quite a while from now that it's rescheduled for, almost certainly says nothing about your underlying case. It's not because of you in particular is the point, okay? So at least it's not bad news, right? It doesn't mean there's something bad or wrong with your case. And like that's why this happened. No, almost certainly not, okay? All right. Buddy Man says, I have a 5-year work authorization. I have a case with my wife, who's the principal applicant in the asylum case. What if I need to remarry, and do you think I'm still legal? Well, look, if you get divorced, let me put it like this. Let me approach it like this. The question is this. What if you're a dependent in your spouse's asylum claim? They're the principal applicant, you're the dependent, but you get divorced. Well, look, then you cannot be included in their case anymore. You are automatically removed as a dependent and cannot get asylum through them once that divorce becomes final. If you want to win asylum, you should think about applying on your own as a principal applicant. And this is usually okay, even though you might have entered several years ago, such that you're past the 1-year filing deadline time. Having been part of a pending asylum case, as long as it was filed during your first year in the United States, counts as an extraordinary circumstance exception to the 1-year filing deadline. But here's the key. You would need to file your own asylum application within a reasonable time after the divorce becomes final. So the date the divorce becomes final, you really need to apply for asylum like within 1 month, definitely within 2 months, I would say, after that final divorce date, or else you will not qualify for this exception to the 1-year filing deadline, okay? If you get remarried, buddy man, look, if you marry a U.S. citizen, that could be a way to possibly get status. I'm not recommending that you get married for that purpose, but I want you to know that if you do, you should talk with an immigration lawyer about getting status through that. Jefferson Rojas says, can we try to get H-1B or EB-2 and IW with an affirmative asylum claim? Maybe. It's tricky. Jefferson, it's tricky. If you entered the United States and you applied for asylum before you lost your tourist status or whatever status you came in on, and your case has been pending the entire time and you haven't been referred yet to immigration court, your case is still pending with USCIS, then the answer is maybe. You should be able to change status or even adjust status to like EB2 and IW under that circumstance. However, there are USCIS field offices that are denying those, and they're saying like, no, you don't qualify because having the pending asylum claim doesn't count as like maintenance of status. But really there's a good legal argument to be made about why it does. And there are some USCIS officers who correctly accept that argument and we'll give you the NIW or H-1B or anything that you should qualify for. It's tricky though. There's no guarantee that you will have success with it. Okay. Should I hire a lawyer to help me with my green card process, although I got asylum on my own? Very good question, Rosh. The question is this. If you won your asylum case already and you did it without a lawyer, you won it on your own without a lawyer, but now you're thinking about applying for a green card and you can't decide whether to hire a lawyer or not, well, should you? Or is it okay to just go ahead and do the green card case on your own as well? I think you should hire a lawyer. Look, you should hire a lawyer for your asylum case, right? I mean, it's great that you won without one. Congratulations. That's very impressive. That's great. The fact remains, though, that approval rates are much higher for people with a lawyer for asylum cases. I'm almost certain that's the same for green card cases based on asylum because, look, it's not as straightforward as you think. At that stage, the officer usually combs through your entire immigration file, and they sometimes try to find inconsistencies between things that you've said or submitted at different times in your whole immigration history. And they can not only deny your green card application, but they can also send your case back to the asylum office and try to get it revoked, try to terminate your asylum status, and then put you in deportation proceedings. This happens quite a bit. It's very hard to overcome this when they say they want to do this, when they intend to revoke your asylee status. It usually happens. You want to approach the green card application very carefully then, is what I'm saying. And I think it helps to have a lawyer do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Nice. Is it safe to file a spousal visa or will he get deported? Says Amy. I mean, if you think that if the person qualifies for a green card based on the marriage, then yeah, you should. It's much better to do that than for the person to not have status at all. You should talk with a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, about that. Okay. Fadia Agurto on YouTube says, "What if I'm living in my country and I'm in danger, abused by a member of a criminal group?" If that's what's happening, Fadia, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's really sad and terrible news. I'm really sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, we're only able to help people who are already in the United States. Okay, if you end up coming here, then the question is like, could that be the basis of an asylum claim? Can you win asylum based on that? Yeah, maybe. It depends. We need to know a lot more, get to know you and your case a lot more. But generally speaking, yeah, being a victim of that can be something that can help, that can give you a chance to win an asylum case. Okay. Look, VJ is asking about a complicated question. It says, out of status on J1 with 212E rule with pending asylum case, can I enroll in university and will it affect my case negatively or positively? I can't answer I'm not in a position to answer the first part about can you enroll in university. But look, you said, will it affect my case negatively or positively? Do you mean you have an asylum case pending and you're asking whether enrolling in university will affect your asylum case? Or are you asking whether being out of status will affect your asylum case? I'm not sure. What are you asking about? Will what affect your asylum case? Actually, I can answer it. None of those things will affect your asylum case. That's the good news. All right. None of that will affect your asylum case. So don't worry about that. All right. All right. Let's see. What questions do we have? I'm Brian Manning. I'm a former government asylum officer. I worked actually for 11 years for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee matters. But now I have a law firm called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. If you want to talk with us about that, about whether we might be in a position to help you, to support you, then please schedule a consultation with us. All right. You can do that at winasylum.com. Just type into your browser, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can go to schedule an asylum strategy session. Okay. We want to talk. We want to see what's going on and tell you whether we think we can support you. Okay. All right. Let's see what's going on TikTok. Hello, sir, from Nepal. Nice, Santosh. Good to see you. Um, we've got someone who says, I was detained before 3 months and I was 6 months in detention. I made my interview with Asylum. Probably a credible fear interview. Probably in immigration court now is what I'm guessing. In defense of asylum case, can I apply for asylum online? Says Free Spirit. Nope, unfortunately you can't. Anything about ICE check-in? Says Monty Kara. You got to do it. You got to go. I recommend that you go, at least, is what I'll tell you. All right. Nice. When can I apply for adjustment of status after asylum is granted? Says Monica Torres. Good question. The question is this. After you win your asylum case, when can you and when should you apply for your green card? Your green card based on your asylee status. Well, look, USCIS can't actually approve this application for the green card until you have been physically present in the United States for at least 1 year after the grant of asylum was made, okay? But here's the thing. You can actually apply. You can send in your application at any time after winning asylum, like the next day after, right? Why would you do that if you can't get approved until you've been here at least a year after winning asylum? Because you can get your place in line. The line to get your green card application considered is going to be probably at least like a year and a half. But you can go ahead and get your place in that line now by applying now, the day after you win asylum. And then what happens is once USCIS finally picks up your application and says, okay, we're going to look at this one now, we're going to decide this one now, they'll see that you don't have that year of physical presence, but they probably won't deny you. Instead, they'll do a request for evidence. They'll send you a letter saying, hey, we saw that you applied before you reached 1 year here. Have you been here for a year now? Physically present? Send us some evidence that shows that. You send it in, and then they can approve your application. I think it makes sense. I encourage you to do it. Okay, to get in the queue now. And overall, you can wait much less time, okay? Asterisk Alliance says, let's say after getting rejected, if they hand me to sign me anything on my asylum at the asylum office, should I sign it or say I just need a lawyer or something? The question is this. If you're asked to sign something at your asylum interview after they tell you that you've been denied, should you sign it or should you wait and try to get a lawyer before signing anything, or what should you do? Well, look, I don't expect them to ask you to sign anything that has to do with a denial at your asylum interview, because they don't give you a decision at your asylum interview. They never do that. They never say, okay, you win asylum or you lose asylum. That's just not the policy of the asylum office. So the good news is you don't have to worry about this. I don't think you're going to be asked to sign something having to do with like a denial, or that you're going to be asked to sign away your rights or something like that after a negative decision, because you won't get the decision that day. That's good news, okay? You are asked to sign a couple things at the asylum office, like if English is not your native language and you want to do the interview in English, you have to sign something saying, hey, I choose to go forward in English, even though it's not my native language. I'm doing this willingly. And you sign something saying how that you acknowledge that you understand how you're going to receive your decision, whether you have to come back to the office to pick it up or instead they're going to mail it to you. So you sign a couple things, and you sign your application form again in front of them after you've reviewed it and updated it and corrected it. But that should be about all you're asked to sign. Okay. But but look, who knows? With the Trump administration, that's how it's been for many years. It could change overnight with the Trump administration. So if you are asked to sign something that when you read it, you feel like this could be giving away some of my rights or making it easier for me to get deported, then yeah, don't sign it and say, I'd prefer to talk with a lawyer before signing. Can we schedule another time for me to come back with a lawyer? I would do that. Okay. Artwell asks, what actual policy changes is Trump likely to make, going to do to make winning asylum more difficult? Good question. The question is this. What policy changes is the Trump administration implementing, or might they implement, that will make winning asylum even harder than it already is? Well, look, at the border, they're going to continue some Biden administration policies and maybe enact even stricter ones that make it really hard for pretty much everyone coming to the border without a visa to get asylum. Make it almost impossible. You may still be able to get withholding of removal or protection under the Convention Against Torture, but winning asylum coming from the border is going to be difficult. Now, look, there's other things though that make it hard, like the interpretation of certain areas of law within asylum. Like, for example, the Trump administration will say will probably make it harder for you to win, for someone to win asylum based on persecution that has to do with families. Like when a family is targeted and the reason that you're being persecuted is because you're a member of that family. The way that the case law is interpreted around this question will probably make it very, very hard to win asylum on that basis. That's just one example where there's lots of little things like that where they can say, oh no, we understand it differently than the Biden administration did and then other administrations in the past did. And they're going to do it in a more restrictive way that makes it harder to win an asylum case. So there will probably be a lot of things like that, honestly. Okay. Skip says, hello, Sir Brian. How much is it to prepare for an interview and attend the interview for affirmative asylum? Good question. Let me check to make sure I give you the updated information, correct and updated. Hold on. It's going to take me 1 second to sign in here. Yeah. So look, you asked specifically about doing the preparation and the representation on the day of your interview, right? So let me see. Yep. We do that preparation, meaning the full-scale mock interview and a debrief session. We do that and representation on the day of your interview for $5,000. Okay. But that does not include actually fighting your case on paper. If you want us to actually reinforce your case, it's a lot more work. Like to actually help you by submitting what we call an asylum roadmap, where we ask you to try to get additional evidence and we write a legal brief, a very thorough legal brief where we pull it all together, connect the dots, and we might actually ask you to submit an additional statement, a supplemental kind of updated statement. Those are three things that we pull together in what's called an asylum roadmap, where we're setting the stage for your case. That requires a lot of work. If you want us to do that, in addition to the preparation and the representation, then it's $9,000. Okay. So yeah, that's what we can do. Even though you already applied, there's still a lot that we can do to help you win your case. Okay. Through this asylum roadmap, which we call it an asylum roadmap because the idea here is that we're going to help the asylum officer get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. We're going to give them all the information they need to see to be able to say, okay, look, I see in these documents everything that I need to know to make the asylum eligibility analysis, and I see how they meet all the requirements. And so, yeah, I plan to give them asylum as long as they show up at the interview and say things that are consistent with what's in the documents, with what lines that line up with what's in all the documents. Then, yeah, we're gonna have a good day. We're gonna have a good asylum interview. That's what we want to establish. Okay. Ermela Wadojo says, hello, where do we send the inquiry to USCIS? What inquiry are you talking about, Ermela? If it's with the asylum office, they all have an email address that you can use. You can try calling their number, but they usually don't answer. They all have their own email address that you can send to. Sometimes it takes, sending 2 or 3 or 4 of those emails before you finally get an answer, but you can communicate with them by email. Okay. We got Key Ross says, hi from New York, NYC, New York City. Nice. Can you move to a different state a couple weeks before applying for asylum? Yeah. Zanbiz on YouTube. Yeah. Good question. Let me address it like this. The question is this. Can you move to an entirely different state and then apply for asylum just, a week or 2 later? Or do you need to be living in your current address for a certain amount of time before you can apply for asylum? Look, I think the question being asked here is raised because, you could be living, let's say, in Texas where the asylum approval rates are low and be thinking, well, okay, I'm just going to move to around San Francisco where the approval rates are much higher with the San Francisco asylum office. So can I just move there? And then after I move there, a week later, apply for asylum? Or will that be looked at suspiciously? Or will USCIS, reject my application even? Like, do I need to be living somewhere a certain amount of time? The answer is no, you can go and you can apply for asylum the next day after you move. and I do not think it will hurt your application. You do need to actually move. I don't want you to commit immigration fraud. Don't lie about moving. But if you actually move, then yeah, I see no problem with applying for asylum pretty much right away after you move. Okay. All right. Adiola says, how long does it take to get after the interview to get the asylum decision? And can you get a travel document before a different travel document before getting a green card? The question is this: how long is it going to take to get your decision after your asylum interview with USCIS? Look, at the end of your interview, the officer will tell you whether you need to come back in 2 weeks to pick it up in person from the office, or instead they're going to mail it to you. Okay. If it's in person, it's going to be 2 weeks that you come back. If it's by mail, they're going to say it's going to take at least 2 weeks, probably more. It'll probably take multiple weeks. You can count on it taking probably at least 3 weeks. Honestly, very often it takes many weeks, including months. Sometimes, honestly, it takes years. But look, if you applied for asylum multiple years ago, and then after your interview, you're waiting like more than a month for the decision, you should consider suing the government to force them to give you your decision. Okay. If you've been waiting for multiple years from the time that you applied, I'm not talking about the time between the interview and now, I'm talking about the time between the application and now. If it's been multiple years in that time frame and you're still waiting on a decision after an interview, you can sue in a mandamus lawsuit to force them to give you your decision. We've done that. We love doing that. It works. Our clients love it. Okay. I usually talk about the mandamus lawsuit in the context of suing to get an asylum interview, right? Well, you can also use it to force an asylum decision after the interview. Okay. It works equally as well in that context if the delay is unreasonable. Skip says, thank you. You're welcome, Skip. All right. Smile UFO says, I'm your client. I don't remember the details of the DS-160, but is there any way to obtain the information? I want to ensure I'm prepared and don't say anything wrong for the interview. Good question, Smile UFO. And thank you for being one of our clients. I appreciate greatly the respect. Not the respect. I respect and appreciate the importance of your case and the trust that you're putting in us to be your lawyer. So thank you for that, Smile UFO. We take it very seriously. I want to answer your question where you said, basically, how do you get a record of your of your visa application? Through a FOIA request, which if you're our client, we've already started that process where you've already made unless you hired us today, then we've already started the request to do the FOIA. It's something that we do for all of our clients. So we'll do a Freedom of Information Act request, and we'll get a copy in that of your entire immigration history. Okay. And so included in that will be the visa application. All right. We don't get the notes from the officer. Those are not included. That the visa officer took during the interview. Unfortunately, we don't get those, but we get the visa application that you submitted. Okay. All right. Marion 55 says, is there going to be any issue if we apply for the EAD on the 150th day? I mean, probably not, but I recommend waiting till 151. Okay. I think it's cleaner that way, less chance of someone making a bad decision and denying it, saying it was too early. Okay. Loic Shipping and Punga says, is it still safe to proceed with mandamus? Lots of sources are saying you might get deported while failing the interview with the immigration officer. You mean after? You might get deported afterwards? Look, good question. The question is this. In the current context with the Trump administration and their mass deportation efforts, does it still make sense to bring a mandamus lawsuit to try to push your asylum case forward to get your interview as soon as possible? I think it makes more sense than ever. Look, there's multiple reasons why I think the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. one is just the more time that passes, the more likely the officer is to say, oh, well, that happened a long time ago. Why do you think you're still in danger now? I'm not convinced. Okay. That's just how it is with most officers in my experience. Also, conditions in your country could change in a way that is harmful to your case, or they could look like they've changed and improved in a way that hurts your case, or our international relations with other countries, including dictators, could change, and that can actually have an impact on your case as well. But look, the most important thing is the Trump effect. I think with every month that Trump is in power, it's going to become harder and harder to win asylum. You're going to have your interview someday. I think it's better to have it as soon as possible before all of these things make it, I think, probably harder and harder and harder for you to win asylum with more time that goes by. So I think it's more important now than ever to push your case forward as quickly as possible through an asylum delay lawsuit, through a mandamus lawsuit. Okay? That's what I think. And we're still having success with these mandamus lawsuits, and we're winning the underlying asylum cases still as well. Yes, it's going to be harder under Trump to win asylum, but we're still winning them. We're going to keep winning them. It's not going to stop us. Okay. If I apply for asylum after 10 months of entering the U.S., will USCIS deny my application? Zanbiz asks on YouTube. You mean just because you apply at 10 months? No. There's no rule that would make you get denied under that circumstance. You need to apply during your first year in the United States. Okay. 10 months, not a problem. Oh, Hermela says the inquiry about the decision, it's been 4 months, even though my interview date was very soon. Okay, got it. Yeah, I would send an email to the asylum office and say, hey, Hermela, you can say something like this. Hey, I had my interview on X date and just wanted to follow up because I haven't received my decision yet. Just wanted to see if you could ask the officer if there's anything further that's needed from me in order for them to make a decision. I'm happy to provide whatever's needed. If not, hopefully, hope we can get this wrapped up soon. Look forward to hearing from you. Could you please let me know when I can expect the decision? I would send an email like that. Okay. Loic Shingi Ipanga says, another question. A lot of folks advise me to reach out to a lawyer who won a case from a citizen of my country. What are your thoughts on this? Thank you in advance. The answer is I disagree with that, but I'll tell you why in a second. But Loic, I want to hear, where are you from? What country? I'm just curious. Okay, good question. The question is this: should you hire for your asylum case a lawyer that maybe is originally from your same country, or that has won cases from that same country? Look. No, I do not think those things should be your top priority. Your top priority in finding an asylum lawyer should be finding someone who has lots of experience in asylum, who focuses on asylum instead of does all kinds of immigration, family-based immigration, marriage-based immigration, investment, employment, all this stuff. You're too distracted. You're stretched too thin. You want someone who focuses on asylum. You want someone who can concretely tell you exactly what steps they're going to take to give you the best possible chance, because most asylum lawyers don't have a plan. Okay. Most of them don't have a strategy for how to put together a case and how to win a case. All right. Most of them don't write a legal brief. Most of them don't do a full-scale mock interview with you. Okay. Most of them don't really even help you with a declaration. You need a lawyer that has a plan and can articulate their plan for how they're going to help you win your case. Those are the things that matter. Okay. Not having a lawyer from your same country. Or even, oh yeah, I won a case from that country. No, that stuff is not relevant, honestly, in my opinion. Just so happens, Loic Shingi Ipanga, just so happens, I do know Congo Kinshasa very well. I have personal reasons why I know Congo Kinshasa very well. I know more about it than I'm gonna be a little bit arrogant here, a little cocky here, and say I probably know more about it than any lawyer you're gonna find in the United States who is not originally from there. I've read extensively about Congo. I've been there twice. I yesterday. I read an article about the M23 taking over Goma and continuing on the march, with Tshisekedi looking increasingly vulnerable. I know Congo really well, and we've helped a lot of people from there. All right, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about, oh, is this like a new country for this law firm? Like, do they know anything about it? Yeah, we know Congo. We've won plenty of cases from the Congo. All right. In fact, I was looking behind me to see if maybe I have a book about sapeurs from the Congo that I used to have behind me right there, but I guess I moved it. I guess it's in the other room now. But yeah, I have this awesome sapeurs book from Congo that I love to look at. Photo book. It's awesome. All right. Let's see. Ermela says, does a lawyer know if you did good or bad in the interview? Do you have to state everything in your personal statement? I mean, if your lawyer participated in your interview, they should have a sense for how well you did. Yeah. Do you have to state everything in your personal statement? No. But if the officer asks you questions in a way that should elicit a response about information that was in your personal statement and you can't like remember it, or you don't say it at the interview, that can be problematic. They can say, oh, but you talked about it in your declaration, but when I asked you about it at your interview, you had no idea, or you got it wrong. That can be harmful. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Zanbiz says, out of curiosity, have you had cases from Iran? Yeah, lots. I don't think we've ever lost one from Iran. I think we've won every single one. Again, as I was talking about earlier with our mandamus lawsuits, the fact that we've had success in the past does not guarantee success in the future. Okay. But I'm pretty sure we've never lost a case from Iran. We know those cases well. We're good at those, I think. Okay. All right. Unbox ITs says, my upcoming ICE check-in is on March 11th. Can I skip it, as I've done it twice, but now I'm afraid of detention? I have no criminal record in my asylum. Individual hearing has been scheduled. I would not skip it. I would go to your scheduled ICE hearings. Okay. Or ICE check-ins or ICE meetings. Okay. I would go to those. 23 drone view is individual hearing in May 2026 in Newark, New Jersey. Good option for postpone for time being, or one of your clients. Well, you don't really have a choice. I mean, 23 drone view, you can't really just say, oh, I want to postpone it. Sometimes there's little things you can do, little tactics to try to get it rescheduled and postponed. But I think the sooner you have your interview usually, or your hearing, the better. Maybe there's certain cases where I decide strategically that's not what we want to do. But usually, no, the sooner the better. Okay? Lazaro, I've seen your question a billion times. I was hospitalized in a mental hospital. I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds tough. I'm really sorry. In the USA, I wasn't aware of the rules and I had mental health issues before leaving. I was looking for help. Now I'm stuck. Do I have a chance to come back? So you're outside of the United States now? Probably not. I can't think of a good route to get back. But unfortunately, we're only able to help people in the United States. That's what we know. That's what we do. So I'm not the best person to ask about routes for coming back, honestly. It's just not the kind of immigration case that we handle. Okay. But I'm sorry to hear about that. I hope things get better for you. All right. Can I apply? Addie says, can I apply for a travel document with just an asylum approval letter? Good question. The question is this: can you travel outside of the United States and be able to get back in once you've won your asylum case? And the answer is yeah. You can apply for what's called a refugee travel document. Even though you're an asylee, not technically, you didn't come on refugee status, you won asylum, you can apply for what's called a refugee travel document, which is basically like a passport. It functions like a passport in that other countries will accept it like a passport, and it allows you to get back into the United States. And it's true that anytime you leave the United States, and you're not a U.S. citizen, there's some risk of not being allowed back in. But I do think that as long as you don't have like a criminal history, that the risk of being denied entry back into the United States if you travel abroad and come back with a refugee travel document, I think those risks are very low, such that I do think it's okay to use it. But you should not go back to your home country. You should not go back to the country from which you claimed asylum, okay? Then you can be denied entry here. All right. Let's see. We already addressed that question. Nice. What did you say? My brother, I wanted to address this, but it went away. My brother had my brother had citizenship through asylum case. Can I apply for asylum too? Nadim Majaz says, let me address it like this. The question then is this: are you likely to win your asylum case if a family member who has been through similar things to you already applied for asylum and won their case? Is that going to help you win your case? Well, look, it doesn't give you any kind of like sort of formal points. Like it doesn't technically give you any kind of advantage or help you win. However, it probably is worth trying to bring up to the asylum officer, including maybe in your declaration, as well as, in the interview, that look, my brother, who went through had a very similar case to mine, if that's true, that look, they applied for and were granted asylum. It doesn't technically or formally help your case, but this knowledge that the officer has, if you tell them this, can at least sort of subconsciously or even consciously impact them a little bit positively in their favorability, how they view your case. So yeah, it is probably worth bringing up, but no, it's not like a huge advantage. You still need to show them that you meet all the requirements for asylum on your own as a principal applicant. You can't just rely on the fact, oh, my brother won, I'll win. Not like that. You got to put together a strong case and be ready to present it really well. Okay. All right. Addie says, thank you, Brian. I'm one of your clients and you're doing a good job. Thank you, Addie. Thank you for your trust in us, for entrusting us with your very, very, very important case. These cases are incredibly important. The consequences of these asylum cases are enormous. So thank you, Addie, for trusting us to handle this case for you. And thanks for the kind words, saying that, we're doing a good job. Appreciate it. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Very kind of you. And thank you for being a client. Abdullahi Barry says, I did my interview with USCIS almost 2 years ago and still haven't gotten an answer. Well, Barry, the question here is, when did you apply? Okay, the fact that you had your interview 2 years ago doesn't mean that you're in a good position to sue and have success with a mandamus lawsuit. But if you applied at least 3 years ago in any office other than Houston or Asylum, any office other than Houston or Los Angeles, then I think you're in a good position to sue and have success with the mandamus lawsuit to force your decision. If it's Los Angeles or Houston, I would say if you applied at least 5 years ago, then you're in a good position to have success with the mandamus lawsuit. So the key here is, how long ago did you apply? Not how long ago did you have your interview, how long ago did you apply, okay? I applied 2015. Yep, you're in a very good position, Barry, to have success. We should talk. Look, Barry, when I say very good position, let me just tell you that I cannot guarantee success. Anybody who guarantees success, is doing something honestly unethical. You should run away from any lawyers who guarantee success. But what I can tell you, Barry, is that I think you are in a extremely strong position to have success with forcing your asylum decision through a mandamus lawsuit. Very strong. We should talk, Barry. We love helping people do this. We do this all the time. I want to talk, Barry. Go to winasylum.com, please. Barry, go to winasylum.com and schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can look. We want to talk with you about your underlying case a little bit. There are some scenarios, some circumstances where we say, nope, you should not sue to push your case forward. Usually that's not the case. Usually we think, yeah, it's in your best interest to move this case forward as quickly as possible. But we want to ask you some questions about it and get to know your case a little bit and talk with you about it and do an analysis before we say, yes, mandamus is the way to go. All right. Do I know why it's taking so long? No. Look, but um, let's look at it like this. The question is this: why might it take the asylum officer a long time to make a decision after your asylum interview? Like, look, some people wait a year, 2 years more after their interview and they still haven't gotten the decision. Why does that happen? It could be any number of reasons. True, sometimes it is what's pending pending security checks, like background checks, that multiple government agencies are involved in, and it can take a long time to get them to finally do their part or to resolve potential issues with those checks. But honestly, more often it's not that. More often it's just your case got put on the back burner and it got lost in the shuffle and it's sitting on some desk, some shelf somewhere, and they've just basically forgotten about it. But even if you inquire with them, they'll just say, yeah, we'll get on it, and then they won't. So really, if your case has been pending for years, if you applied multiple years ago and you haven't gotten your decision yet, you should consider suing to force the decision. The good news is the fact that it's taking a long time probably does not mean anything bad for your case. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get denied or have some kind of problem. It probably does not mean that. So that's the good news, okay? All right. That is... what are the chances of the Trump administration granting amnesty? Virtually zero. Unfortunately, I think. Sole act. Unfortunately. All right. That's going to be it for today. I'm Brian Manning. I'm a former asylum officer turned asylum lawyer, and my law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. If you want to get in touch with us to see, if we think we might be in a position to help you, then we would love to talk in an asylum strategy session. You can schedule that at this webpage, winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. Go there now, schedule a consultation so that we can see if we think we can help you. If we think that we might be in a position to support you, we're going to explain to you how, like concretely, exactly what are the concrete steps we're going to take to give you the best possible chance of winning your case so you can secure your future in America through asylum. I'm Brian Manning. As always, it's an honor and truly a pleasure to support you in your asylum journey. Till next time, see you guys. Have a good one. Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye, guys. All right. Bye, YouTube.